I need to tell you something. Maybe you haven't noticed, but it was in you that I found something I had never seen in anyone. I don't know if it was in the way you speak or the way you look at things around you, but at that moment, something in me changed. And honestly, I couldn't ignore it. What captivated me wasn't an obvious characteristic. It wasn't what you did, nor something that could be explained. It was who you are, and that only you have. It's the way you are, so you, effortlessly, without fear, without trying to be something to please anyone. That impacted me in a way I didn't even know was possible. It was in the silence between the words. It was in the naturalness with which you exist. You don't need to pretend, you don't need to prove anything to anyone. Just by observing you, I realized that your truth is stronger than anything. And that is rare. So rare that when I realized it, it was already too late. You were already in me. And I keep thinking, do you know the power you have? Do you realize the impact you leave even without trying? Because, for me, it was that. It was your way of being, without filter, without rehearsal, just you. And I saw you truly, maybe like no one has ever seen before. I don't know if you have any idea what you provoke in people when you're around. Maybe you haven't even noticed how much you impact just by existing, but I can assure you that those who really see you, as I see you, feel it. It's not something that goes unnoticed. You have a way of entering someone's space without needing to say anything, as if your presence was a kind of answer that we didn't even know we were looking for. The strangest thing is that, in the beginning, I tried to resist it. Not because there was something wrong, but because it was too overwhelming. It was as if everything I knew, everything I thought I knew about myself simply didn't make sense anymore. You showed me something I had never seen, and the truth is, I couldn't go back to who I was before I met you. There's something about you that captivates. It's not because of your appearance, it's not due to a specific moment, it's the whole. It's the way you manage to be strong and vulnerable at the same time, the way you carry the world in your eyes, yet still find a way to smile. It's the way you make the simplest things become special. And perhaps you don't even realize it, but that's exactly where your essence lies. That's exactly what makes me unable to stop thinking about you. Remember that time you talked about something that hurt you, and yet you didn't stop smiling? That's when I realized. That's when I understood that your way of facing things is unique. You don't try to mask the pain, but you also don't let it define you. That taught me more about courage than any words I've ever heard in my life, and I know you didn't do it to impress, but you impressed me, because I saw your truth there, and your truth is beautiful in a way I can't describe. And maybe you're wondering, why me? What's so special about me? The answer is everything. Everything you are, even in the details you try to hide. It's not about being perfect, nor about having all the answers. It's about how you make me feel, how you turn what seemed ordinary into something I want to keep forever. You don't need to be extraordinary in the eyes of the world to be extraordinary to me. You already are. And I want you to understand this. I want you to know that even when you think you're not at your best, even when the day feels heavy or things don't go as you planned, you still are. You still leave marks. You are still enough. Because you don't need anything more than what you already are to be amazing. It's as if everything in you, every part, was made to remind you what is real. And maybe the world needs more of that. I know that I needed it. You, with all your details, with all your good and bad days, showed me something I didn't even know I needed to see. You showed me that there is beauty in flaws, in stumbles, in the days when we can only be who we are. Because you don't try to be something else, and that is rarer than you imagine. That's what made me stay. That's what made me choose you. Or maybe it wasn't even a choice. Maybe it just happened. Maybe we only find people like you once in a lifetime. And you know what's more interesting? You probably don't even imagine how much all of this matters. Maybe you're reading this now and thinking, is it true? Am I really all that he is saying? And I understand. I understand because I know that you, with this way of caring for the world around you, forget to care for yourself. I know that you give so much to others that sometimes there's nothing left for you. But that's why I am here. To remind you of what you might have forgotten. You are amazing exactly the way you are. I know that sometimes you doubt. I see it in your eyes, even when you try to hide it. I notice it in the way you change the subject when the conversation goes deeper. It's like you're always trying to protect the most fragile parts of yourself, But let me tell you something. Those parts are the most beautiful. They are the parts that make you who you are. And I just want you to know that even in those parts, or perhaps mainly because of them, you are more than enough. You are everything. And no matter what happens from now on, I want this to be clear. I want you, even when you doubt yourself, to remember this. I want you, on the hardest days, to go back to these words and understand that there is something in you that the world needs. Something that I needed. Something that, just by existing, already makes all the difference. I'm not saying this to please you or because I think you need to hear it. I'm saying it because it's the truth. Because you, with all your essence, with all your imperfections, are the person who made me believe that there are still good things in the world. Things that cannot be explained, but can be felt. And I feel that every time I think of you. You need to understand that this isn't about something grandiose or impossible to achieve. It's about you in your most natural state. In the moment when you simply are, you don't need to do anything beyond that. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. And that is exactly where your power lies, in the simple act of existing as you are. I think about how obvious this seems, but at the same time how difficult it is to find. Most people try to hide their fragilities, try to mask what they think others won't accept. But not you. You don't hide, even when you could. You carry your stories, your pain, and still find a way to be light. And that, to me, is what makes all the difference. Maybe you don't even realize how rare this is. Maybe, because it's natural for you, you don't even notice how you touch the people around you. But I need to tell you that it's exactly this essence of yours, this capacity to be authentic, that makes it impossible for those who truly know you to ever forget you. You don't just pass by, you stay. And do you know what impresses me the most? It's that even while carrying so many things, you still find space to take care of those beside you. I see this in the way you listen, in the way you pay attention to every word, as if each detail were important, because to you, it is. And this makes me wonder, who takes care of you? Who looks at you the same way you look at the world? Who notices your details the way you notice those of others? I hope you know that you deserve that too. I deserve to remind you that you don't have to carry everything on your own. Sometimes, I feel like asking you how you do it, how you manage to be so whole, even when I know it's not easy. I wish I could understand how you find the strength to keep going when so many things around you could make you stop. But maybe it's not something that can be explained. Maybe it's just part of who you are. That silent strength that doesn't need recognition, that doesn't need to be seen to exist. And this is what touches me deeply. Because even in moments when you seem more distant, more lost, you still have something that connects. Something that makes those close to you want to stay, want to understand, want to care. I know that sometimes you might doubt this. I know that. Sometimes you might think that it doesn't make a difference, that who you are is not enough. But you need to know that to those who really see you, it is more than enough. It's everything. I know it's not always easy to believe this. I know there are days when you look in the mirror and don't see what I see. But let me tell you something. What you see isn't always the truth. Because the truth about you is in the moments when you forget to try to be something and just are. It's in the smile you give when you think no one is looking. It's in the way you talk about something you love, with a passion that's impossible to fake. It's in your presence, even in silence. And that, no one can take from you. I keep thinking about how much you've gone through, how much that could have turned you into someone closed off, distant. But no, you chose to be different. You chose to keep feeling, to keep believing, even when it would have been easier to give up. And that, to me, is the greatest proof of who you are. Because it's not about never falling. It's about always finding a way to get up, even when everything seems to be against you. And the most beautiful thing is that you do it in a way that inspires. Not because you're trying to be an example, but because it's impossible not to be. It's impossible not to look at you and feel the urge to be better, to do more, to believe that there is something good, even when the world seems so chaotic. You showed me that, even without realizing it, and I hope you know how much that means. I know you don't like to hear compliments, you don't like to be the center of attention, but this isn't about praising you. It's about reminding you that you matter, that even on the days when you feel you're not at your best, you are still enough. You are still seen. And that, to me, is everything. Sometimes I imagine what the world would be like if more people were like you. Not perfect, not invincible, but human, real, whole. The world would be less cold, less rushed. Perhaps it would be a place where more people felt seen, like I felt when I met you. And that, in itself, is something worthwhile. I wanted you to understand this once and for all, that even when you feel small, even when you think you're not making a difference, you are. You do. Because your presence, your way, your words, all of these leave marks. And for me, these marks are deep, they are eternal. I don't know if you realize how much you have changed in me. I don't know if you understand how much your essence has the power to transform, to heal, to connect. But I hope one day you see. I hope one day you understand that who you are, just as you are, is already enough to make it all worthwhile. I just want you to know it's not about being perfect. It's not about meeting anyone's expectations. It's about understanding that even in your most fragile moments, you have an impact. Even when you feel like you're just existing, you are a light to those who truly see you. To me, you are. And you know, I'm not saying this for you to believe me right away. It's not a matter of accepting what I say as absolute truth. It's more about inviting you to look at yourself with different eyes. Maybe less critical, less harsh eyes. Eyes that see not only the flaws and insecurities, but also what you bring that is unique, that is true. Because even if you haven't seen it yet, there is something in you that no one else can offer the world, something only you can be. And that is special. I know you carry a lot. I know there are days when you feel the weight of the world on your shoulders, and in those moments it might seem easier to give up. But I need you to remember, you've come this far. You've faced things you thought you couldn't handle. You've overcome fears, pains, falls, and yet you chose to continue. You chose to believe somehow that there was something more waiting for you. And there was. There always is. Now, I want to ask you something. I want you to think about what you have meant to someone. It could be a conversation, a gesture, a look. It could be something you didn't even realize you did, but that changed someone else's day. Because you do that even without knowing. You touch those around you, and that ability, that power, is something you should never forget. Because even when it seems like you don't make a difference, I guarantee you do. And to me, you have. So I need to ask you, what are you going to do with that? How are you going to use that strength, that presence that is already within you? Not to try to be something you're not, but to simply be more of who you already are. To keep inspiring, even without realizing it. To continue being that person who leaves deep marks, even when you're not trying. If there's one thing I want you to take from this, it's this. Never underestimate the impact you have on the world. Never underestimate what it means to be you, because to me that means everything. And now, I want to hear from you. I want you to tell me how this text made you feel. What did you find most important? Is there something about yourself that after all this you can see differently? I want to know. I want you to leave a comment here, telling me what touched you, how you see yourself, and what you will take from this into your life. And if this made sense to you, if this somehow touched your heart, I'm going to ask you one more thing. Subscribe to the channel. Because I believe these conversations, these moments of connection are important. They are what keep us human, keep us close. And I want to keep sharing this with you. Also, leave your like. It's not just a symbolic gesture. It's a way for me to know that this had an impact, that this message reached you. And who knows, it might reach more people who also need to hear this today. You are a part of this now, you, with everything you are, with everything you feel. And I'm here not to change you, but to remind you of how amazing you already are. Thank you for being here with me. And please don't forget, you are more than enough. You always have been, and you always will be.